ONOG Summer Circuit feature tournament number 2. I'm Osmo, joined by Chalky once again. We're about to jump into the winners match between Deckies and Hoj. Chalky, we've seen both these players play today so far. They both won their first matchup, so both these players are one win away from securing their spot in the semifinals. And I want you to tell me your thoughts on how these players' deck lineups match up and what you've thought of them so far.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of have to think I favor Hoj's decks here. I mean, Decky's made it work in the first match, but traditionally in tournaments, the Druid, the Paladin, the Shaman, all of these have not been the top 3 decks. Surprisingly, few people bringing Patron Warrior. Shows the only one in this group that brought Patron Warrior. We do see, we've seen 3 Hunters. Decky's the only one that didn't bring that. So, definitely a different style. It worked in match 1. We'll see if it can work in match 2. But I do have to favor Hoj's decks. I mean, Druid seems to match up, at least evenly. And I think the Zoo and the Hunter match up pretty well. We did see Deckies get pretty nuts draws against Show, against his Zoo. Was able to draw the Wild Growth and Innervate to take the win with Druid. And Runner a bunch of taunts and heals to win with Paladin.
Yeah, he was top decking and wrecking. But you can see on your screen there, Decky's favorite card that he's put in his mid-range Paladin is the Piloted Sky Golem. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually has that in his Shaman deck as well, considering that's his favorite deck and his favorite card. And it sort of fits the deck. It's a nice mid-range card that gets pretty absurd amount of value. But this matchup is going to be the Druid versus the Paladin of Deckies. And what do you think of this matchup overall? It's a matchup that we don't see very much nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, the Paladin lines up pretty well into it, especially when your opponent doesn't have a very insane opener, which we see Hoj really doesn't. The swipe goes pretty well into muster for battle, if that's kind of your game plan, is muster on 3, hope they don't have swipe, which I think, like, if Deckies had a muster here, he'd probably play it. But the fact that he didn't almost, like, it makes that swipe a lot worse, because later in the game you can just play muster and quartermaster on the same turn. And True Silver Champion, Shielded Minibot, Alor Peacekeeper, these are all really nice cards for trading into what the Druid can produce.
Yeah. This was one of the decks that kept Druid down at the beginning of like GVG when Paladin was really popular. Druid was still considered to be one of the best decks, like right before the Paladin era, but it went away for a long time just because Paladin was in the meta. So it's interesting to see the interaction. And you mentioned the muster for battle quartermaster combination. That combination is really tough for Druids to be able to deal with. Lots of medium-sized stuff on the board. They just don't have enough spot removal to deal with it all.
Yeah, the fact that swipe kills off the tokens really isn't a big deal if you think about it value-wise. I mean, it's a 4-mana card to answer a 3-mana card, and you keep a Light's Justice.
Yeah.
So it's really a lot less of a problem than most people think it is. If you just watch this matchup play out a lot, you'll realize the Paladin is quite nice into the Druid cards. Paladin excels at clearing out just singular medium-sized stuff. As we see right here, True Silver does really well against it. Aldor will do really well going into the mid-game. And if Hoj doesn't pick up a big-game Hunter this game, then Dr. Boom might carry a lot of weight as well.
Yeah.
For now, I think we're going to see maybe like a Harrison Jones here, which is one of those tech cards that the Druid can add. I think it's mainly aimed at Patron, but it has the side effect of being really nice against Paladin.
Yeah, and just taking out one charge of a True Silver is most of the time some of the best you can get. A lot of times you can just use it right after Muster's played because it gets you absurd amounts of draw. Removes their life stress and usually gets you like 2 or 3 cards, which is good. But a lot of times it's never going to line up against something like Ashbringer because normally you're going to have a keeper for Tyrion at that stage in the game. So,
yeah,
pretty good value out of that.
Little surprised he didn't go with Aldor Peacekeeper here. Just kind of deny damage from Hoj. Hoj gets to push a little more damage this way, but Deckies really values the Shredder trading into the Harrison, which might do pretty well. I mean, Hoj has a lot of ways to stop that from happening. He can go for like Silence, Wrath. He can Druid of the Claw and Taunt just to stop it. He can go for Swipe, but again, Swipe is kind of gets better as the game goes on against the Paladin, up until the point where they're just able to muster and Quartermaster in the same turn. But, I mean, the Wrath Swipe is actually going to pull a lot of weight against Dr. Boom if he decides to save it. It looks like he's just going to go with the most proactive play that pushes a lot of damage, and this is what I'd like to see from Hoj here. He doesn't have combo pieces, but he's setting himself up to win the moment he draws them.
Yeah, and you can really pressure with this deck too, because making the Paladin play defensively is another way that you can at least buy yourself time to draw into combo.
Yeah, you kind of have to realize, we know he doesn't have combo, but Deckys knows he has 3 reduced pieces, 3 reduced cards from Emperor, and if 2 of those were combo pieces, he would actually just die. Yeah. So it's to the point where I really like from Deckys, he's not overreacting to that. He's not trying to play around that too much. I don't know if that's because I would assume he's aware of the possibility, and he just realizes he can't beat that. You know, if Hoj has combo, he's gonna lose. Is the read he's making. So he just goes with a much more proactive play. Sylvanas acts as kind of like a pseudo taunt. The opponent has to do something about it. Unfortunately, Second Keeper kind of reels his head back in disappointment. And Hoj, again, just pushing that face damage, decides that's how he's going to win this game.
And you can feel pretty good about using Second Keeper here, just because a lot of times you want to have one for Tyrion, but it doesn't matter because you're so far ahead on board. Unless he like equality consecrates right now, then it's probably not even going to matter. The game isn't even going to get to the point where Tyrion is going to be a factor unless he has it in his hand right now.
Yeah, and that's actually going to do it. Hoj's really aggressive playstyle has put him ahead, and the Savage Roar obviously is a lot more damage, but even with the swipe, he had it. So I really like the way he played this game. Just basically, like you said, he used those keepers in a way where it's kind of like, oh no, now I don't have anything for Tyrion. But Tyrion's one of those cards that's really only relevant if the Paladin can clear the board. So that didn't happen, and Hoj just didn't need to care about Tyrion because there was no opportunity for it to be played.
And Hoj continues his win streak, took the last series 3-0, and now is going to go up 1-0 in this matchup. Deckys, though, no stranger to being down in a series, and he had to fight his way tooth and nail through the qualifier that actually got him enough points to make it here. He actually took second, so he's played a lot of matches up until this point. So he definitely knows how to play from behind. So Hoj going to go with the Hunter this time around, and Decky's going to throw out the Paladin. Now, Hoj had the...
He has the Hybrid Hunter.
Yeah.
We did see a Savannah Highmane.
Lothab,
see a Wolf Rider now, so it's got the Abusive and the Leper Gnome, but it also it packs that late game punch. So I would say that's actually good for Deckies. The fact that there's something to use Aldor on, something to do. But he misses Zombie Chow by 1 turn. He does have Muster for battle, which is one of those important cards to fight through this board position. And drawing the Wolf Riders early on isn't really what you want from Hoj's position. So it's a little different than what we saw from Show.
Yeah. We'll see if Deckies can weather the storm here, though, because this is still going to be a lot of damage that he's going to take. And after those musters are gone, he doesn't have a way to deal with it. And sometimes, even with those, if you don't find a way to stabilize in mid-game after your musters, you can still fall to a Hunter, especially one with more aggressive elements that Hoj has with Wolf Riders. You take a lot of damage, especially with Light's Justice, because now he's essentially taking 4 extra damage from this, but he does take control of the board.
Yeah, and that's the main thing, is you just need to take board control. This makes the Wolf Riders even weaker. Could see something like a Juggler Unleashed coming out as soon as next turn, if Hoj can draw that Unleashed. So that's going to be one thing that Deckies needs to play around if he can. And Deckies actually doesn't have, any of his taunts or heals. He has plenty of time to draw into them. But at the moment, something like a Savannah Highmane coming down, coined out on turn 5, would actually be really tough for him to deal with.
I think you just have to Wolf Rider here. Well, I don't know. You might want to, because I don't think you want to use the coin for the potential that you draw into. Hey, he just doesn't have a good turn next turn with this play.
Yeah, that's the main issue. I think he's. I guess he's hoping somehow. Okay, well that's a good juggle. I guess any of the juggles would be fine if he plans on trading twice. He mainly needs to protect this freezing trap that he's probably going to end up pulling out of the scientist. Because
Yeah.
if your opponent gets to freezing trap a 1/1, that's exactly what you don't want to happen. And yeah, I like this from Deckies. He takes more damage this way, and he doesn't really know that this is going to contest a Wolf Rider. But had he just True Silvered, a Wolf Rider would actually be pretty fine for Hosh to just slam onto the board and go face with.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we're going to see one of those 1/1s get freezing trapped unless Hosh pulls out a different trap from his deck.
I think he just has Snake Trap and Freezing Trap, if I remember correctly.
So he really wants to pull Snake, but Quartermaster's pretty nuts. And I guess it's just going to be face for Hosh, or for Deckies.
Yeah. Well, he trades one into the Light Justice, but that's a lot of damage that he's going to take.
Yeah, he even threatens to freezing trap the Quartermaster, which could then represent 6 from hand. And with double True Silver, that's a lot of damage to push. But if Hosh can roll a Huffer here, then suddenly he's the one winning the race. So it's a very intricate race here, but I think I'd favor the Paladin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially since he has True Silver, so he can actually use those as a way to just heal for 2, which sort of negates the hero power for a turn. Misha...
Misha's pretty nice.
Yeah.
It's definitely better than Leok. That would have been, the nightmare. I think Huffer would have been pretty nice, but Consecration could be a really nice pickup here.
Mm-hmm.
If it was Snake, it'd be, really important. But in this case, it's not as big of a deal. I'm a little curious why he consecrated first. He's weaker to Snake now. And a little weaker to Freezing, kind of. But yeah, I mean, this looks like it worked out well for Deckies, but Hosh can just play down that Savannah High main, and with 2 Wolf Riders, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah, and Quartermaster he knows costs 7.
Mm-hmm.
So if he plays Quartermaster again, he'd have to trade in both of them to the Savannah High main, and then he'd still be at a nice, healthy 15, only staring at a Quartermaster with 2 damage on the board. So
yeah, the problem about playing around Quartermaster is it's how do you do it? Do you Wolf Rider into a 3/3? Really?
yeah,
it doesn't seem appealing. And then what if your opponent just has Dr. Boom like he has? That's fine. He'll just play that, and suddenly you feel like an idiot. So
yeah.
I feel like you don't want to overthink this. You just play the Savannah High main. Like you said, if your opponent trades into it, you're happy. If they Quartermaster and go face, you win. So it's almost like it's like a win-win unless they have the Aldor.
Yeah.
But he
Hopper!
Looks like it's time to smork.
Yeah.
And that works out well. And I feel like you got a little lucky, but now suddenly Deckies loses unless he trades and True Silver's face. Yeah.
And then if he True Silver's face, then trades all of a sudden, now he can just play Savannah High main.
Yeah. And then lay on hands would have to come out. Yeah, it just gets worse and worse. So I have to feel like Hosh caught a bit of a break getting that Huffer, but I guess so. The one thing he did have to fear with just playing Savannah High main was Aldor Peacekeeper, which we haven't seen from Deckies yet. So there's a decent chance that would be in his hand and answer the Savannah High main perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he does kind of have to consider here, is it worth putting my opponent at 2, play around like Tyrion here? And I think it is. I think you can go Juggler Wolf Rider Hero Power.
Then if your opponent plays lay on hands the next turn, It'll put him back up to 10, but he'll have to
maybe
take extra
9. Yeah,
damage.
so it'll take him up to 9, but that's actually good for him that the
Yeah.
juggle went face. So Hoj just put himself on a win unless he has a heal. He does have a heal, but now comes the Savannah High main. I mean, worst case, you just get to make the play you would have made anyway.
Yeah.
You could put your opponent to 6, and I feel like Hoj is just going to, hopefully for him, eventually draw a burn card. But an Owl is basically burn because Belcher's going to have to come out, and that's going to do it. Belcher, True Silver, yep. Nothing else, and the Owl will do it for Hoj. It's going to take a 2-0 lead.
Wow. Wow, my apologies as well. The emotes are coming out.
Yeah, I mean, if Hoj didn't have exactly Owl, he actually wouldn't have a way to win this game. The Consecration would be enough damage next turn.
Mm-hmm.
So for Deckies, it's like a reverse from the last series where he had everything going right. Now it's just the opposite.
He did have some tools early on. He had double mustard plus the zombie chow on turn 2, but still just wasn't enough. That's one of the reasons why Hybrid Hunter is so strong, because you have the early aggression and you have the reach with like charge creatures, but then you also have the hard hitters like Savannah Highmane to bring you through. So Hoj, once again, continuing that win streak, 5 wins in a row now. 3-0'd his first set, and now he's just a Demon Zoo victory away from securing his spot in the semifinals tomorrow.
Now, in the first match, Deckies actually did 3-0 Show's Zoo. He dropped 2 games to Show's other decks, the Hunter and the Patron, but that was the only place he got his wins. So if there's any silver lining for Deckies, that's it, is that this might be the deck he's best suited to 3-0 out of what Hoj brought, but
3
it's
times
still
in a row.
So tough, yeah. I mean, if you look at all the good fortune he needed to beat Show 3 times against that Zoo, it's going to be hard to replicate that.
The tough situation.
You get
you
that
play
2-1
the
out
abusive
there.
on 2-1.
Yeah, as Hunter, it's much less of a question. You really want to push the damage, but as Zoo, it's a deck where you can't really look at it as if the 2-1 gets in 2 damage, it did its job, because the abusive has a secondary job, which is to buff up your creatures to play for board control.
Yeah, and if you had played the abusive charge and all of a sudden a shielded mini bot comes out, you effectively just wasted that card.
Yeah, so Hoj does have to consider the implications of a coin consecration here, but there is also merit in saying, okay, X% of the time my opponent won't have consecration. I think when they don't have consecration, I win the game. And I really like to see the abusive come out. You trade, and then missed 1 juggle, but that's fine. So
yeah,
this is a situation where you can see from Decky's reaction, not feeling good. It's going to be a rough game.
Indeed it is.
I mean, it looked really bad for him against Show, and he managed to stabilize, but it's not looking very good this game, and we could see even just a power overwhelming Void Terror come out this turn on a 1-1. Yeah, I'd like to see Hoj maybe just go all face. Looks like he's trading, though. Okay. That works out fair enough. Just really playing for that board control. Makes an 8-4 here. So basically forcing out the Aldor or the Big Game Hunter, which later in the game will have use against stuff like Mal'Ganis. So he doesn't feel terrible about this getting BGH. He gets to kill it off for free with the Abusive Sergeant anyway. Yep.
Trades first as well.
Yep.
It's looking pretty good for Hoj.
Yeah, he's got pretty good board control. He's got a lot of damage out of hand. And more importantly, Deckies doesn't have those Sledge Belchers that he needed to stabilize against Show. And when you don't have those, it's a lot tougher, especially with how well Hoj is curving out.
Yeah, and there is the Azure Drake. He actually does run the Azure Drake in the Paladin deck, so definitely a card teched in for the Patron matchup.
Yeah, he's even going to just continually clear off the board, make it so hard for Deckies to really have anything to stabilize with. He doesn't
Oh my
even really
gosh.
miss damage off of that because he gets 2 juggles.
And this looks like it's, yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's
this
game.
has to be game. I mean, he's gonna heal bot, but that's just not even close to enough. He's
Powerbomb
alive
plus
on
Doomguard.
board. Yeah, he's actually dead to Doomguard plus a lucky juggle. Wouldn't even be that. Wouldn't even be that lucky, you know. Actually,
Yeah.
would he just be dead to Doomguard because you can trade in the Imp Gang boss?
And you get and you'd get extra juggles plus
Yeah,
two more
you
juggles from the Doomguard. Yeah.
yeah, not sure, but the power of overwhelming definitely makes it lethal. And Hoj 6-0 really quickly out of this group.
Yeah, that's super impressive. And he's going to move on in first seed out of Group B. So that means he'll play the second seed from Group A, which I believe was Dog.
Yep, it was. So
So that'll be a really good semifinal tomorrow on Sunday, Dog versus Hoj as one of the semifinal matchups. So Hoj will be looking to continue his win streak. That's the most dominating performance I've seen from someone in the feature tournament so far, between feature tournament 1 and so far what we've seen from feature tournament 2. So definitely a big congratulations to Hoj. Deckies isn't out yet, though. Since he won his first matchup, he will go down to the elimination match. So basically, he'll face the winner of the losers match, which is up next.
yeah, and Hoj actually did, I believe, qualify through points from the GEICO Point Summer Circuit system. So you guys at home can also sign up for those tournaments. We're only halfway through, 8 down, 8 to go. So you can sign up for those. I'm getting word Hoj actually won one of them in the Europe region.
Yeah.
If you win one of those, you can find yourself sitting right here playing in these matches in the feature tournament for a chance to go to PAX. You can sign up for those at liquidhearth.com. Uh, there's ones for Europe and North America. They're going on for the next few weeks, so get on that.
Yeah, the next one is the 20th for NA and the 22nd for EU. There's a $250 prize pool for each one. There's also World Championship points given out for each one. So I know a lot of players who play ladder every season really want more ways besides like big land tournaments to get Hearthstone World Championship points. And this is a great way to do it by participating and placing highly in these tournaments. So definitely check those out. Also head over to geico.onog.gg. You can get more information about the tournament, how the Geico points system works, and you can also enter in right on the front page there on the website. You can enter in to win an official TSM PC. Of course, TSM is one of the partners of Geico, along with Team Liquid. So make sure you guys head over there and do that during the break. But we're going to take a break for a couple minutes. But next up is the losers match. It's going to be between Show and VX14. So don't go anywhere, guys. More Summer Circuit action continues right after this.